Doma Sports Talk Worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, we got some middleweight slash super middleweight news, and that would be, that Jermall Charlo, right, WBC champion at 160 pounds versus the real WBC champion at 168 pounds, and that'd be David Benavidez. Now, most people in the boxing world understand that there's been a little banter going back and forth between these guys, right? Jermall Charlo at 160 pounds, really can't really get any fights, right? We understand that the Charlo belt was made because Canelo Alvarez didn't want to fight him. That's the franchise for you guys. That belt will always be called the Charlo's belt because it was made because Canelo Alvarez, after Charlo moved up to 160 pounds, he was champion at 154, by the way, and Canelo could have fought him there. But he moved up, and he had two interim fights and an eliminator against Highland, interim fights against Centeno Jr. and Matt Korobov. Then he was supposed to get his shot, finally, with Canelo after having that many interim fights. So then Canelo called the WBC and asked him to do something about it, and there was the franchise belt born, or the Charlo belt. So, therefore, he's can't get no fights really at 160, right? Because Gennady Golovkin was also mandated to fight him, and Gennady Golovkin just flat out said no, right? So when you have those things, that would be okay if Charlo was ranked ahead of those guys, like in the pound-for-pound list or in the list of middleweights, right? Seeing as though all of the media knows and understands that we have a new belt, the Charlo belt, that everybody seems to be calling the franchise belt, because of this situation. So at the end of the day, I have already done a video about the only way that I consider the Jermall Charlo versus Benavidez fight to be a good fight. It's a good scrap, but other than that, it's not good. It's not good for boxing, right? unless the WBC steps in right now, which they're not going to do. But if they did, Mauricio Sulaiman and his boys stepped in and said, okay, Canelo, last time we mandated you to fight Golovkin, you damn near threw away the belt and you said you don't want to have nothing to do with us. And we've been scared ever since. But I'm going to tell you, I'm running a company here, and I got to, my name and our company is important. So this guy, the winner of that fight, seeing as though we took the belt from the Benavidez, the winner of that fight, you got to fight. And before you unify the division, before you go here and go fight Billy Joe Saunders, or after him, or before at least the Caleb Plant fight in September, that you handle that business, right? That at least Benavidez or Charlo has also the possibility to become undisputed at 168. If not, if Canelo can put the whole division, the 168-pound division, on lockdown, Billy Joe Saunders, I'm fighting you. That means don't you fight in February. And you better not fight Demetrius Andrade. And Billy Joe Saunders is going to listen. Caleb Plant, it ain't till September. He ain't fighting. Now his hands hurt, but I'm guaranteed you Caleb Plant wants to fight before Canelo. Why ain't he fighting Benavidez? Or Andrade or something before. You see? And it's not happening. So Canelo has basically said, 168-pound division, none of y'all move because y'all going to fight Canelo. Now, there are people out there, and they're saying things like this. The winner of David Benavidez and Jermall Charlo, they're going to put pressure on Canelo Alvarez. And I'm like, we all understand boxing for a while. There's no such thing as pressure on Canelo Alvarez. There's no such thing as pressure on Canelo Alvarez. And there is no such thing as pressure on Canelo Alvarez. Make sure you understood that, just in case you fast forwarded or whatever. You heard it 3 times. There's not. We've been watching for a long time. The man was doped on clenbuterol twice. They raised the damn level. The man couldn't make 154 pounds no more, right? So they let him fight at 155 pounds for 3 fights, and then called it Canelo weight instead of getting upset at him and say, hey, Canelo, if you can't make 154, then just go up to 160. No! Let him have 155 and then fight people that he outweighs. And we all know he outweighed them, right? Didn't even have second day weigh-ins, right? So, think about that, right? He's ignoring an undisputed fight at 160 pounds with Demetrius Andrade. Just ignored it. And the whole media just ignored it with him. Just act like they didn't even know that, right? We don't have to even get into the gift decisions. The Lara decision was ridiculous. The open scoring with Austin Trout in San Antonio, to the day that irks me. Open scoring, right? Even the decisions with Gennady Golovkin. He loses the first fight. Definitely, right? Got a draw. He drawed the second fight. Definitely. But he got to win. You know why? Because he stood in front of Gennady Golovkin. That's not winning. That's awesome, but it's not winning, right? The Mayweather, you don't lose a fight by more than that he lost to Mayweather. He didn't win a round in that fight. He just got totally dominated, right? And he got a draw, but with one person, right? Not to mention, he wants to be undisputed now at 168 pounds because it's easier. Bottom line, we got to go, I hate to, no disrespect to Billy Joe Saunders, definitely not Caleb Plant, but it's easier than becoming undisputed at 154 pounds because you had Demetrius Andrade and both Charlo brothers at the time, so he just left. And once Demetrius Andrade got stripped, then he fights Leon Smith because they gave him the belt instead of one of the Charlos. In Texas, before the pandemic, Canelo versus any one of the Charlos in Texas is a mega, super duper mega fight in Texas, filling up any stadium. But no, he was able to leave that division, go up to 160. Everybody followed him. He didn't even want to be undisputed in the 160 pounds then, right? Because at one time he didn't want to fight Canelo, he didn't want to fight Gennady Golovkin or Andrade or Charlo, right? I mean, all of these things. And while this is happening, I'm still the number one pound for pound. I'm still, and other boxers too would call him that. And they know this stuff, which means that everybody in the industry understands, well, he's making the money. And that's not even true either. He's making it, but he's not making the money for the people he's working for. Give you an example. He has a $365 million contract for 10 fights with DAZN, right? All DAZN was saying was fight somebody formidable. He's pissed off about that, right? Golden Boy would say, hey, man, we got to fight Demetrius Andrade or Charlo, man. Eventually, come on, dude. You're getting 35, 40 million a fight. So he gets out his contract, both of them, and then calls up the WBC and it says, hey, look, man, I'm going to go up to 168. Can I fight this Yildirim dude? Because Benavidez is now out of the picture. We all know these things, right? We know these things. And we still consider Canelo, well, not we, but a lot of people consider him to be the best fighter on the planet. Best fighters don't do that, right? The other best fighters around there, the one that I'm calling the best fighter, like Terrence Crawford, is there any of that anywhere? If he was at 135, 140, 147, is there anybody running around? We know that Terrence Crawford not gonna fight. That's been begging for years, 7 years. These people I'm talking about, Charlo and Andrade for 7 years. So the bottom line is this. Canelo is not going to fight the winner of David Benavidez versus Jermall Charlo. So therefore, we shouldn't even see the fight unless that happens, unless the WBC says that's going to happen. And there should be pressure. That means the fans have to get behind it. Why are we talking about Jermall Charlo and Benavidez? They're different weight classes, right? If Charlo goes up here and fights the guy that Canelo didn't want to, he has to be rewarded for doing so. And Benavidez is just basically, I'm bigger than Charlo. I barely can make 168, although he did make it real good against Ronald Ellis, right? But, he's a bigger guy, and he's looking for fights because it's a signature fight for both of these guys. It's understandable. But my only point here, my issue, and stay focused on this issue, is like I said in the other video before I did a month ago. If these two guys fight, yes, it's a good fight. Yes, we're going to tune in. But the winner should get Canelo. And the WBC should stipulate that that is the case. If not, the hell with that fight. Until later. You know what I'm saying? Until later. That's my whole point. Doma Sports Talk Worldwide. And I'm up out of here, y'all.